Emma had never imagined herself standing in a small hotel room in downtown Seattle with her son for a weekend trip. Life had been busy, crowded with work deadlines and endless errands. And this sudden decision to drive up for a family event had felt impulsive. Yet now, as she held the keycard in her hand and glanced at the softly glowing room, a strange mix of relief and anxiety swirled inside her. The rain outside pattered against the window, blurring the city lights into streaks of gold and white. The hotel smelled faintly of fresh linen, and the soft hum of the air conditioning made the space feel oddly comforting. Daniel, her son, had grown into a tall, thoughtful young man, and watching him now, Emma realized how much time had slipped by without her noticing. He dropped his backpack on a chair and stood staring out of the window at the glistening streets. She noticed the way his shoulders were tense, how his fingers flexed as if he was holding something back. Emma could feel a quiet distance in him these past weeks, moments when he seemed distracted or withdrawn. She hadn't pushed. She had tried to respect his space, but now, in this small, quiet room, she sensed he had something to say. Emma began unpacking, her hands moving quickly as if the task could distract her from the unease building in her chest. She folded his clothes neatly into the dresser, lining up shirts and pants, tucking socks into the drawers as she always did. Her own bag lay open on the bed, half unpacked, but her attention kept wandering to Daniel. He didn't move from the window, yet she felt his eyes on her, observing her with an intensity that made her pause. There was something unspoken, heavy in the air, a tension she couldn't ignore. The room was quiet, except for the sound of the rain and the occasional creak of the hotel building settling. Emma's mind raced. Had she missed signs? Had she been too busy with work, too absorbed in her own life, to notice the moments when he needed her most? She had always tried to be a good mother, but lately it felt like the walls between them were growing taller, thicker. She could feel it now, in the way he stood there, unmoving yet present, carrying emotions he hadn't shared. "Mom," Daniel said suddenly, his voice breaking the quiet. It was soft, hesitant, almost a whisper. Emma froze, her hands clutching a sweater she had just folded. The sound of his voice was different, more serious than usual. Carrying a weight that made her stomach twist, she turned toward him slowly, trying to read his expression. His eyes met hers, wide and glistening, and for a moment she felt a pang of something she couldn't quite name. He looked older than she expected, a young man now, not the little boy who used to run into her arms after school. But he was also the child she had raised, the one who trusted her more than anyone else. That trust, fragile and precious, seemed to hang in the air between them. "You can tell me anything," she said, her voice gentle, trying to steady the nervous flutter in her chest. "You know that, right?" Daniel nodded, but his eyes didn't leave hers. He shifted slightly, his hands twisting together as if he was holding himself back. I don't know how to say this," he murmured, "but it's been on my mind a lot lately, and I need to say it." Emma felt a sudden surge of protectiveness, mixed with curiosity. Her heart beat faster, a mix of excitement and fear twisting inside her. What could he be about to say? Something about school, friends? She had no idea, but the seriousness in his tone made her instinctively brace for more than just casual words. The room felt smaller suddenly, the soft light pressing down on her like a weight. She took a deep breath, trying to remain calm, trying to prepare herself for whatever was coming. The air smelled faintly of rain and the faint scent of his shampoo, reminders of ordinary life, yet in that moment, the ordinary felt strange and fragile. Daniel finally turned away from the window and took a step closer to her. Emma noticed the hesitation in his movements, the careful way he avoided looking down or away for too long. She realized he had rehearsed these words in his mind, perhaps for days, waiting for a moment like this when they were alone. "Mom," he said again, his voice barely above a whisper. "There's something I've been feeling, something I didn't know how to say before. But tonight, I can't keep it inside anymore." Emma felt her chest tighten. The words themselves were simple, but the emotion behind them pressed on her heart. She could see it in his eyes, vulnerability, fear, longing. It was a mix that made her breath catch in her throat. She wanted to soothe him, to wrap him in the safety she had always tried to provide. But she also realized this was not a simple moment. This was something heavier, something that went beyond ordinary mother-son conversations. She folded her hands in front of her, trying to steady herself, trying to offer comfort without pushing him away. "You're safe here," she said softly. "Whatever it is, we can talk about it. You don't have to hold it in anymore." Daniel exhaled slowly, as if releasing a held breath, and for a moment the silence returned, filled only by the soft rhythm of rain outside. Emma's eyes followed him as he looked around the room, avoiding hers, his body tense yet open. She realized this was a pivotal moment, a turning point in their relationship. Though she didn't yet understand how or why, her mind raced with possibilities. Was he struggling with something personal, something about life, school, friends, or his own emotions? She had seen glimpses of pain, moments when he seemed distant or sad, but she hadn't pressed him. She had trusted that he would come to her when he was ready. And now that moment had arrived. Emma resumed her unpacking, moving with deliberate calm, trying to give him space while remaining present. She placed his clothes neatly, straightened the bed, and arranged the room in a way that felt safe and familiar. Yet her heart wasn't in the task. It was entirely on him, on the weight of his words, on the sense that something was about to shift between them. Finally, Daniel spoke again, softer this time, more direct. "Mom, sometimes I feel like no one really understands me the way you do. And when I see you here, helping, caring, just being, I feel something I can't explain. I don't want to hide it anymore." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She paused mid-fold, her hands stilling over the sweater. His words hung in the air, delicate yet powerful, like a whisper carried on the wind. She realized that whatever he was feeling, it was sincere, honest, and raw. And as she looked at him, standing by the window with the rain dripping down outside, she felt a mixture of awe, fear, and an ache she couldn't name. The room felt charged, alive with emotion. Emma understood that this was only the beginning of a long, complicated conversation, one that would change the quiet rhythm of their evening and perhaps their lives. And just as she opened her mouth to respond, Daniel's next words hovered on the edge of silence, leaving her breathless and waiting. Emma felt the weight of Daniel's words hanging in the air, pressing gently against her chest. She turned fully to face him, seeing the young man he had become, and at the same time, the vulnerable boy she had raised. His eyes were wide and serious, glistening in the soft hotel light, and something in her chest clenched. She had always known he was sensitive, but tonight, his feelings seemed deeper than ever before, raw and urgent. "Daniel," she said softly, her voice trembling just slightly, "you don't have to hide anything from me. Whatever it is, we can talk about it, always." He swallowed, visibly gathering courage. "It's not easy to say. I've tried over and over in my mind. I thought maybe it would go away, but it didn't. And seeing you here, now in this quiet moment, I can't hold it anymore." He paused, his gaze falling to the floor for a heartbeat before rising to meet hers again. "Mom, it's like every time I see you, I feel understood. I feel safe. But it's more than that. I can't explain it fully, but it's the strongest feeling I've ever had." Emma's heart thudded in her chest. His words were simple but full of emotion, heavy with honesty. There was a longing in them, a vulnerability that cut straight to her core. She wanted to reach out, to comfort him, to hold him close, but something told her to pause. This wasn't just about comfort. This was a moment that required care. A balance between love and boundaries. "Daniel," she said gently, stepping closer but keeping a careful distance. "Sometimes feelings can be confusing, especially when we're growing up, learning who we are, and trying to understand others. What you're feeling, it's important, and I want you to share it, but I need to understand it too." He nodded, his fingers twisting nervously. "I know it's confusing. I've felt it for a while now. I tried to push it away, thinking it was wrong or that maybe I was overthinking. But tonight, I can't ignore it. I don't want to pretend anymore." He exhaled slowly, a mixture of relief and tension leaving his shoulders. "I know, Mom. I had to say it. I've never been able to tell anyone else. And seeing you unpacking, doing what you always do, I realized. You're my safe place. I don't know how to explain it better than that." Emma felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. She wanted to hold him, to reassure him, to tell him that everything would be okay. But she also recognized the delicacy of this moment. It was fragile, charged with raw emotion, and she had to handle it with care. She sat down on the edge of the bed, gesturing for him to join her. Daniel hesitated but moved closer, perching on the chair by the window. The distance between them felt both vast and intimate, a strange combination that made Emma's heart ache. She wanted to say something, but words seemed inadequate. Instead, she just looked at him, letting the silence stretch, allowing the emotions to settle around them like a soft, invisible blanket. "Mom," he said again, quieter this time, almost a whisper. "I've been so afraid you'd think I'm wrong, or that I'm broken, or something worse. But I can't hide it anymore. I've felt this way for months, maybe longer. I need you to know. I need you to hear it." Emma's chest tightened. She understood his fear. She had seen it in him before, moments of hesitation, times when he withdrew instead of speaking. But tonight, he had spoken. He had opened a door that few ever could, and she felt honored and terrified at the same time. She reached out a hand, resting it gently on the dresser near him. A silent signal of support and grounding. "You're not wrong, Daniel," she said softly. "What you feel doesn't make you wrong. It makes you human. And it makes me realize how much you trust me. That trust, it's precious. And I won't break it. I promise." He looked at her then, eyes searching, full of a complicated mix of relief, confusion, and longing. I feel so much, Mom, so many things at once. And I don't know what to do with it. I just needed you to hear me." Emma nodded, letting the words sink in. She could feel her own heart pounding, caught between maternal instinct and the intensity of his emotion. She wanted to guide him, to comfort him, to make the storm inside him calm. But she also realized that this was a moment to listen, truly listen, and let him feel safe in expressing himself. They sat there, quiet except for the rain tapping against the window. Each drop sounded louder than it should, echoing in the small room, filling the spaces between their words with a rhythm that matched the tension in the air. Emma noticed how grown-up Daniel looked in this moment, how thoughtful and serious. Yet still her son, still the boy she had raised. The contradiction made her chest ache. Finally, she spoke again. "Daniel, sometimes we feel things that are bigger than we understand. And that's okay. It doesn't make you wrong. It makes you brave for admitting it. You've been carrying this alone for too long, and now that you've shared it, we can face it together." Step by step, he let out a shaky breath, nodding. The relief in his eyes was palpable, but there was also a lingering uncertainty. It's a quiet question that hung in the air between them. Emma could feel it too, a sense that this conversation was only the beginning. A first step into something deeper, more complicated, and utterly human. The room felt charged, alive with unspoken emotions. Emma realized that her heart was racing, not from fear, but from the intensity of the connection between them. She had always loved her son, always protected him. But tonight, his words had opened a new, unexpected door filled with trust, vulnerability, and a raw honesty that left her breathless. Daniel glanced at her then, eyes soft but searching. "I don't want this to change things," he said quietly, almost afraid to speak the words. "I just wanted you to know. That's all." Emma smiled gently, a mixture of tenderness and reassurance in her expression. "I know, Daniel, and it won't. Nothing can change the fact that I love you, that I'm proud of you, and that I'm always here. But I need time too. Time to understand all of this, to help you navigate it. Okay?" He nodded again, a small, fragile smile forming. The tension in the room began to ease slightly, though the rain outside continued its steady rhythm, as if echoing the emotions inside. And in that quiet hotel room, Emma realized that tonight would be remembered not for the unpacking, not for the journey, but for the honesty, the trust, and the unspoken bond that had grown even stronger between them. The rain continued to patter steadily against the hotel window, creating a rhythm that seemed to match the tension between Emma and Daniel. The quiet of the room was heavy, filled with unspoken emotions and questions neither of them could fully express. Emma could feel her heart racing, each beat echoing the weight of Daniel's words. She had always known he was sensitive, but tonight she saw the depth of that sensitivity like never before. Every glance, every pause, every hesitant movement seemed charged with emotion. Emma tried to focus on something familiar in packing her own bag, arranging clothes neatly, but her hands moved automatically and her mind was elsewhere. She watched Daniel as he shifted in the chair by the window, his fingers fidgeting nervously. He seemed caught between wanting to speak and fearing the consequences of his own honesty. She understood that feeling all too well. Sometimes speaking the truth could be both liberating and terrifying. And she admired his courage. "Daniel," she said softly, breaking the silence, "you've carried this inside for so long. I can see it in your eyes, in the way you hesitate. But telling me's brave. It's more than most people can do." He looked at her then, his expression a mixture of relief and vulnerability. "I didn't know how to tell you without. I don't know, making things awkward or weird. I thought maybe if I said nothing, it would just go away. But it didn't. And being here in this room, seeing you, unpacking, helping, caring, it brought it all out. I couldn't keep it hidden anymore." Emma's chest tightened. She felt a mixture of awe, concern, and a strange ache she couldn't name. His honesty was touching, but it also left her vulnerable in ways she hadn't expected. She wanted to reach out to offer comfort, yet she knew she had to tread carefully. These were deep, complicated feelings. He was sharing ones that required guidance and love, not judgment or dismissal. She moved closer, keeping a gentle distance, and sat down on the edge of the bed. "Daniel," she said, "feelings are complicated. They're not always easy to understand, even for adults. What you feel right now, it's real and it's important. And I want you to know that you're not wrong for feeling deeply. You're human. We all have emotions that confuse us sometimes." He exhaled slowly, as if releasing a weight he had carried for months. "I know, Mom. I didn't want to upset you or make things strange. I wanted to share it, but I was afraid. I've never told anyone this before, not like this. And now, here, it feels like the right time, even though I'm scared." Emma nodded, understanding perfectly. Fear often came with honesty, especially when it involved emotions that weren't easy to define. She reached out, placing a hand gently on the dresser near him. A grounding gesture, offering stability without overstepping. "It's okay to be scared, Daniel. It means you care about what you're feeling and how it affects others. That's natural, and I promise, nothing you've said changes how much I love you or how proud I am of you." He glanced at her then, eyes wide and searching, as if trying to read her thoughts. "I don't want this to ruin things between us. I just wanted to be honest. I don't know what comes next, but I couldn't stay silent anymore." Emma's heart ached for him. She could see the struggle in his eyes, the conflict between vulnerability and fear, between honesty and uncertainty. "Daniel," she said, her voice gentle, "honesty is always the first step. Sharing your feelings doesn't ruin things. It brings us closer. It shows trust. And that trust, it's precious to me. I'll help you navigate this. But I need you to understand that some feelings are complex. They take time to sort out." He nodded, swallowing hard, and for a moment, the room fell silent again. The rain outside drummed a steady rhythm, filling the spaces between their words. Emma noticed how much he had grown, how serious and reflective he had become. Yet she also saw the boy she had nurtured, the one who still needed guidance and reassurance. The combination was both comforting and painful. "I feel so much all at once," he admitted, his voice low, almost breaking. "And sometimes I feel guilty for feeling this way, like maybe it's wrong. But I can't ignore it. And now that I've told you, I feel lighter in a way, but also more unsure. Emma's heart swelled with a mix of tenderness and concern. She could relate to that feeling the way emotions could be overwhelming, even when they were honest and true. "It's okay to be unsure," she said softly. "Feelings aren't always clear-cut. What matters is that you acknowledge them, that you talk about them, and that you don't let fear stop you. You're brave for sharing, and that bravery is something to honor, not fear." He looked at her then, his eyes reflecting the soft hotel light, filled with gratitude and vulnerability. "I've never told anyone like this before. I felt like I had to hide it, keep it locked away. But seeing you here, doing what you always do, I realized I can't keep pretending anymore. I needed you to hear me." Emma felt a lump in her throat. She wanted to comfort him fully, to hold him and reassure him that everything would be okay. But she also knew that words had to be chosen carefully. This wasn't a simple moment. It was a turning point. The honesty between them was deep, emotional, and delicate. "You've done the right thing," she said finally, her voice steady but full of emotion. "You trusted me with your feelings. That's a gift, and I promise I won't break that trust. We'll work through this together, step by step. And no matter what, I'm here for you, always." The rain outside had not slowed. Its steady tapping against the hotel window filled the room with a rhythmic backdrop that mirrored the storm of emotions between Emma and Daniel. The conversation they had shared moments ago had left the room heavy, thick with unspoken thoughts and tender realizations. Emma's heart still thudded in her chest, her mind replaying every word, every glance, every small tremor of feeling that had passed between them. She felt a strange mix of relief and unease, as if the honesty Daniel had shown had opened a door she wasn't entirely prepared to walk through. Emma moved closer to the window, pressing a hand gently against the glass. The lights of the city blurred in the rain, painting streaks of gold and silver across the night. She felt the coolness of the glass against her palm and let out a quiet sigh. It was as if the weight of the moment required some grounding, something outside themselves to focus on while their hearts recalibrated. She could hear Daniel shifting behind her, the soft scrape of the chair against the carpet, the subtle rhythm of his breathing. "Mom," he said quietly, his voice hesitant, I hope I didn't make things awkward. I didn't want to upset you or make it strange." Emma turned slightly, resting a hand on the dresser near him, a silent gesture of reassurance. "Daniel, nothing you've said changes how I feel about you. You're my son, and I love you. Always. Honesty like yours, it's brave. It's not awkward, and it doesn't upset me. It's part of growing, learning, and connecting. We all feel things we don't fully understand at first." He nodded, a small, thoughtful movement. The vulnerability in his eyes softened the room, creating a space of quiet trust that Emma had rarely experienced in such intensity. She saw the young man he was becoming, thoughtful, sensitive, and earnest, yet beneath it all, she still recognized the child who had once run to her after minor scrapes, the boy whose small hand had fit perfectly into hers. That duality, that mix of familiarity and new depth, he made her heart ache in a way she couldn't fully describe. "I've never shared this with anyone," Daniel admitted, his voice low, almost a whisper. "I've always kept it inside, thinking maybe it was too much or too strange. But seeing you here, seeing how you care, how you're just I realized I couldn't stay silent. I needed someone to understand." Emma's chest tightened at his words. She wanted to reassure him, to hold him, and make everything feel safe again. But she also recognized that tonight required patience and gentle guidance, not immediate solutions. "Daniel," she said softly, "you're not alone. Feeling deeply doesn't make you wrong, and sharing it doesn't make you weak. It takes courage, and that courage is something to honor. I'm here to help you navigate this, to help you understand it, and to walk with you through whatever comes next." He shifted closer, subtle movement that carried both hesitation and trust. The room felt smaller, cozier, and yet full of tension and emotional gravity that pressed against them both. Emma could feel her pulse quicken, not from fear, but from the intensity of connection, from the fragile honesty that had entered the space. She wanted to speak, to explain, to offer comfort. Yet words felt insufficient. "I feel so much all at once," Daniel said, his voice trembling slightly. "It's confusing, overwhelming, and sometimes I feel guilty for feeling this way. I didn't want to bother you or make you uncomfortable, but I can't hide it anymore. I just wanted you to know." Emma's heart ached. She reached out, resting her hand gently on his arm, careful, grounding, a symbol of support. "You don't have to feel guilty, Daniel. Feeling deeply is part of life. It shows that you care, that you notice, that you are alive. What matters is honesty, and you've been honest with me. That's more than many people manage in a lifetime." He looked at her then, eyes searching, vulnerable, full of unspoken questions. "I don't want this to change us. I needed to be honest. And now that I have, I don't know what comes next." Emma swallowed, aware of the fragile tension between them. She could feel the depth of his honesty, the weight of his trust, and the responsibility she bore to respond with care. "Tonight is a beginning," she said softly, choosing her words with precision. "It's the first step in understanding, in connecting, and in facing feelings that aren't always easy to define. I'll help you, guide you, and be here for you. That won't change. But some things take time. Understanding takes patience. And we'll do it together." Daniel exhaled slowly, a small, almost imperceptible sigh of relief. The tension in his shoulders eased slightly, though the emotional charge remained. The room seemed to breathe along with them. The rain outside, a soft drumbeat that reminded them both of the world beyond, yet tied them to this moment. Emma noticed the subtle shift in him, a mix of calm and lingering uncertainty. The first sign that his honesty had begun to unburden him. "I feel lighter now," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I also feel unsure. I don't know how to handle all of this yet. It's too much, and yet it feels important. Sharing it feels important." Emma nodded, understanding perfectly. She had felt that same way many times in her own life, the release of honesty mixed with the fear of what comes next. "It's okay to feel unsure," she said gently. "It's part of understanding yourself. And it's okay to take time, to ask questions, to feel emotions fully. That's how we grow. And I'll be here with you the whole way, no matter what." He smiled faintly. A small but genuine expression of relief and trust. The room felt lighter, yet the emotional undercurrent remained. A reminder that honesty carried both relief and responsibility. Emma felt the connection deepen, a subtle but undeniable bond forged in vulnerability and care. For a moment, they simply sat there, quiet, listening to the rain, the soft rhythm outside echoing the slow settling of tension in the room. Emma realized that tonight would be remembered not for the unpacking, not for the hotel or the city, but for the honesty, the trust, and the quiet growth between mother and son. "I'm glad I told you," Daniel said softly. "I feel seen. I feel like I'm not alone anymore. And that matters more than anything." Emma's chest warmed with emotion. "And you're never alone, Daniel. You have me always. That's something you can hold on to." Whatever else happens, the night continued. The rain steady, a soft and constant reminder that life moves forward, even when moments feel suspended in emotion. Emma and Daniel sat together, the hotel room filled with a quiet, powerful intimacy, romantic but deep, profound and human, a bond strengthened by trust, honesty, and vulnerability. And as the city lights blurred against the rain-streaked windows, Emma knew that this conversation, this night, would remain with them forever. It had changed something, shaped something, a delicate but unbreakable connection. And in that quiet storm between fear and relief, between honesty and understanding, they found a sense of peace, a shared knowing that would carry them through whatever came next. The hotel phone rang suddenly, breaking the silence, a sharp contrast to the gentle rhythm of rain. Both of them looked toward it, hearts still racing, aware that the world beyond the room continued, but also knowing that this night had already changed everything between them.